Hey everyone, thank you for watching. In today's video, I'm excited to do, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of August. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about them, my thoughts on them, what star rating I gave to each book, and of course, if I would recommend the book or not. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Samantha. I am primarily a beauty focused channel, but I actually started my career in social media in 2009 as a blogger. And while I did have a lifestyle blog and talked about a lot of different topics, including beauty, I did also primarily focus on books, book reviews, author interviews, cover reveal. When I hopped onto YouTube in 2015, that first year, I primarily did book videos as well, book reviews, book hauls. I talked about my life as a book blogger and also as a self-published author. I am now a self-published author of 8 novels with my 9th one on the way. In 2016, I decided to transition this channel to a mainly beauty focused channel, but I have decided that I want to start bringing in more book content. I've been sprinkling them a little bit here and there throughout. I've done the best books that I've read so far in the year of 2022. I always kept books involved in my videos. I do a series called My Makeup Monthly every single month on my channel where I review all the makeup products I've been trying, and I always included the top books that I read throughout that month as well, or any 5-star books. This is the same with makeup. Just because I absolutely love a book doesn't mean everybody will. Because I didn't absolutely love a book doesn't mean you won't love it. And I thought I really want to talk about all the books that I have been reading and reviewing. I decided to give this style of video its own place here on my channel. I am going to continue to do beauty videos, but I feel like we are finally getting away from only having to niche down on social media. That's the way that it was for so many years when I was online, and I did my best at it, but I have so many different interests. So this channel is going to be beauty, it's going to be books. I also like to do some lifestyle, some clothing hauls, around the home, vlogs. I do live in Las Vegas, so there's always something going on around here. So I want to incorporate a little bit more of everything that I love here on my channel. So again, if you're new here, I hope that you will subscribe and stick around. If you love getting book content, I would love to know what else you would like to see from me, because I am still a book blogger. I do still get books and PR just like I do with makeup. So I am reading all of the time. So if you have specific recommendations you would like to see from me, please leave those in the comments. Or if you love beauty videos, you will still get plenty of those from me on this channel as well. But if this sounds fun to you, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so normally I film most of my videos in my office, but something about filming in my bedroom, again, just kind of took me back to the days of when I first started on social media, when I first started on YouTube, and I thought, I just want to film in my bedroom for this one. So that is where we are coming to you from this video. You will probably see my dog jump in at some point because I can already hear her in the other room. She's like, wait, why are you talking to yourself over there now? You usually talk to yourself over there. The month of August, I did read 4 books, which honestly to me is not a lot. The month of August, I took a vacation to Hawaii for a wedding. I did also have a staycation in Las Vegas at Resorts World, and I hosted an event, a girls' night out event. So I was gone that whole weekend, and I actually had some dental work done, a temporary crown, a root canal, and a permanent crown put on. So August was a pretty busy month. I feel like I definitely did not read as much as I normally. I track my books on Instagram. I use a really cute template by one of my friends' page, and I like to link every book once I finish it. I link it on my Instagram in my stories, and I do also have a book highlight over there. So if you're not following me on Instagram, again, I'm March Beauty Word. You get a lot of my daily life and everything that I'm up to, but also what I'm reading, what I'm trying out for beauty products, what I'm eating, all of the things. And I already for the month of September, I'm at 3 books, and I read 4 for the whole month of August. So August was definitely a bit of a slump month for me, but I still read some really good books, including this first one, which is A Week of Warm Weather, and this is by Bukwoski. So a little bit about the book. Tessa Cordelia appears to have it all: a loving husband who's just opened a dental practice, a beautiful baby girl, a big house in the suburbs, and a large supportive family. But when her husband's reckless choices resurrect a trauma from her childhood, she must decide which is more costly, keeping his secrets or revealing them. He, the husband, then manipulates Tessa into believing his career and their happiness depend on her silence. Again, from the synopsis, it says, a gripping, nuanced exploration of the havoc addiction can wreak on a family. This is a story of a woman who has to figure out how much she is willing to lose in order to find herself. From my review, I said, talk about a book I could not put down. This had it all: relatable characters, an emotional undercurrent, and an intimate look at a marriage falling apart from addiction. What I said in here was I enjoyed that this book was not predictable, even from the addiction itself. We know kind of from the start, and we know from the synopsis as well, but sometimes I don't always read the synopsis, or like I don't read it right before I start a book, I will get a review request in and I'll read it, but sometimes it's not for another 2 months until I'm reading the book, and then I forget to read the synopsis. But we know right away that obviously addiction is involved, and usually when we talk about addiction, we're talking about drugs or alcohol or some sort of self-harm to that way. And this, I won't give away any spoilers, but this was one where I was like, wow, I've actually never even heard of that. And I kind of had that same feeling of Tessa as, well, is it like really so bad? And, you know, her husband isn't hurting anyone else or really affecting anyone else. So like maybe she's got a lot going on and she's a new mother. And as the book goes and you see the addiction get worse and worse, and you see a marriage really start to crumble, and you see the selfishness that is addiction. And it was so eye-opening because I feel like this book really did not hold back. It showed the highs and the lows of trying to love someone who has an addiction that is completely taking over their life. It's becoming priority over his career. It became priority over his wife, over his baby, over his extended family. And it was really heartbreaking to read because in the beginning of the story, you know, Tessa's husband does not come off as a bad guy. They seem to have a great marriage, a loving marriage. But you see absolutely how the addiction destroys that. And again, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the ending just, I can remember being in my office, finishing reading it, and I just sat and cried for a while because I was just so sad at how it ended. And it might not end the way that you might think it would end, but that's why I just really want you to read this book, because it was real life. And I'm someone who, like I mentioned, I write novels myself. I would say probably, what, half of my novels, maybe over half, don't have your traditional happy endings, because sometimes that's not where we are in life. And I think that there's really great books that, you know, have the beginning, you have the turmoil and the drama and the confusion, and then you have the happy ending. And it's like, wow, that all wrapped up in a neat little bow. But sometimes life is not like that right now. Like, I don't consider myself to be in a happy ending right now. I'm coming off of a divorce. This past week was actually very challenging for me because it would have been my 9-year wedding anniversary. It was the second wedding anniversary that I've spent since separating and subsequently divorcing my husband. Like, I wouldn't say I have a happy ending going on right now. I'm trying, and I'm trying to find it, and I'm trying to get there, but this is just another chapter. This is not the end of my story. Girl moves away, girl moves to her dream city, everything's happily ever after. No, I'm definitely still struggling. So if I were to end my story right now, I don't think it would necessarily have a happy ending. It would kind of be like a to be continued. And that's what I thought about this book, and I so badly, when I finished it, I thought, I really want there to be another book because I want to know how Tessa is doing. Like, I want to check in with her. I want to see how she's doing, because that's how deeply I felt connected to the characters in this story. So I gave this book a 5-star review. I would highly, highly recommend it. Obviously, there are sensitive topics, addiction being the underlying theme of the entire book. And there are some scenes towards the end that do border on domestic abuse. And I was so horrified. Because I truly felt like I was there. The writing was so good. I truly felt like I was a part of this little family. And to see everything just absolutely going sideways. There were some moments where I was taking big breaths, like, I can't believe this is happening. I hope nothing worse happens. It's not overly graphic or like horror or anything like that, because I don't necessarily love that, but there are some moments that made my stomach hurt a little bit while reading. But if that is something that you can handle, or something that you think sounds interesting, A Week of Warm Weather truly is one of the best books I've read this year. Next up, we have the book Good Morning Love, and this is by Ashley M. Coleman. So a little bit about the book. Carly Henton is a musician and a songwriter hoping to follow in her father's musical footsteps. But while biding her time to make it big in the music industry, she works as a junior account manager at a big name media company to cover her New York City rent. So she's balancing her day job, which pays the bills, with her side hustle, which is her passion essentially, which I feel like a lot of people can relate to, myself included. But then she does meet rising star Tao Anderson, and it sends her calculated world into a frenzy. In the synopsis, it says, a smart, timely, energizing romance. This shows us what the glamorous New York City's music music scene is really like and takes us into the lives of rising but somewhat troubled R&B stars and a promising protege who knows her job better than she knows herself. Now, I did say in my review, I started off saying I was a little worried when I first started reading this one because it started off slow and I wasn't particularly connecting to any of the characters. Even Carly, who has this double life, which I can relate to. I worked at a hospital for many years, even after I started, like I said, I started blogging in 2009. I published my first book in 2011. I did not leave my job at the hospital until 2014. So I definitely had a double life situation going on for many years, and it is really hard to balance trying to chase after your dreams versus trying to put food on your table and making sure that you can pay your rent every month. So I feel like I had a lot in common with her, but I think what I struggled with Carly is that she was already working in the industry that she wanted to be in. Like, she wanted to be the songwriter, but she's working as this account manager at the marketing firm, and it's like she already has the connections there. And I kept thinking, what are you doing? It was self-sabotage to a T in here. And she would meet these other connections, and then when they would find out that she's also a songwriter and singer and who her father is, her father's also in the music industry, she just would not take any help. And I get that to a point because I'm also very proud. I have a lot of independence. I've overcome a lot of personal struggles myself, so I don't want handouts, and self-sabotage is my biggest downfall of my career, and not to sound dramatic, but to my life, because I feel like I need to do everything myself. And even though I have some opportunities, or handouts as people sometimes call them, they're happening because I put myself out there and I've done the work, and I've done the work for free, and I've gone above and beyond, and I've put in the blood, sweat, and tears to my passion. So then an opportunity shows up, but then I think, no, I'm not deserving of that. So at the same time, I could understand where Carly was coming from, but it felt like it was just so much of her never realizing what she actually has at her fingertips, and it made me quite frustrated with her as a character. It was interesting though to see kind of this behind the scenes look of the music industry. That is something I don't know a lot about. So just seeing of how records get produced, what it's like to be in like the recording studio, what it's like to be invited to the parties, what actually happens at the parties, how people get invited to the parties. There's a lot of that behind the scenes that I thought was really interesting. I did mention in my review that I thought there was some plot holes here and there, especially with Carly's parents have a very interesting storyline, and the ending kind of ties back to her parents, but the ending to me was completely bizarre, and it kind of not ruined the story for me, but I was going back and forth on if I wanted to give it 4 stars, 3.5 stars, 4.5 stars. Like, I was kind of all over the place with this one of how should I rate it. I ended up rating it a 4. I think if the ending had been different, I maybe would have given it a 4.5, but there's like a tiny little plot point that gets mentioned very randomly halfway through the story, and then that's what is like the conclusion of the book, and I'm like, wait, where did that come from? So that was kind of odd to me, and it just left me in like a weird headspace when I finished it. But other than that, it was interesting. The romance is definitely more of the slow build, and we have like the struggling heroine and the flashy, wealthy guy that comes and sweeps her off her feet, which sometimes isn't necessarily my favorite of romances. And Tao definitely seems to have a lot of boundary issues that Carly just seemed to let happen over and over again. So sometimes some of the relationship plot points, I was a little bit like, I'm not so sure where this is going. So again, I feel like I could have given this anywhere from a 3.5 to a 4.5. I ended up settling on 4 stars. It wasn't my absolute favorite novel, but it had enough redeeming qualities. I liked that behind the scenes of the music scene, and it just felt like something a little bit different to my reading collection. Next up, we have In Her Boots. This is by KJ Dell'Antonia. I hope I'm saying that correctly. From the book, it says, Rhett Gallagher's adventurous life is imploding just as she turns the big 4-0. Her long-term relationship collapses, and her grand's death draws her back to the family farm. The only silver lining is that Rhett's inspirational book, The Modern Pioneer Girl's Guide to Life, and under a pseudonym, has become a wild success, so much so that when her big publicity moment comes, self-doubting Rhett panics and persuades her best friend Jasmine to step into the limelight in her stead. So what happens is Rhett gets asked to go on a morning show to talk about her book, her social media, her Instagram page, which has made her quite famous over the years. When she is doing that, she runs into her mother, who was the complete opposite of her. They have a very estranged relationship, and the two are actually supposed to go head to head on this morning show. So when Rhett sees her mother, and again, her book is written under a different identity, so no one knows that she's the modern pioneer girl, including her own mother. So when she sees her mother, she thinks, there's definitely no way she can see me. She can't know that this is who I actually am. So then she shoves Jasmine out onto the spotlight, essentially, and Jasmine has to make believe that she is the one that wrote this book. She is the one that's had all of these adventures over the year that Rhett has had. So obviously there's a lot of interesting plays there. And for me, once again, I could relate to Rhett on a certain level because I too started social media in general and also Instagram when it was just kind of like, I just kind of feel like sharing my life. I just want to talk about the things that I'm interested in and share about the things that I'm interested in. And then suddenly there's a whole career that came from it. I think a lot of us that are in like the first generation blogger space are kind of like, wow, like who knew that was gonna happen? I sure didn't. I just wanted to share about the books I was reading, the beauty products I was trying, the workouts I was doing. I even wrote about celebrities back in the day when I first started my blog, because I used to also really love celebrities. But from this author, she has also written The Chicken Sisters, which I have not read, but I've heard so many great things about. I think it was in like Reese Witherspoon's book club. So I'm gonna have all of these books linked in my description box, of course. I will also have my reviews linked to my blog if there's anything that you would want to check out. I do also always link my makeup. I know you can't, I don't even know how well you can see me. I'm just sitting in front of my window, but I do always link everything in my description box, just like I do with all of my beauty videos. So I'll link The Chicken Sisters as well, because I did put that on my TBR to be read list. So I knew that one got really good reviews. So when this one came through in my inbox, I was like, yeah, I do want to read it. And the premise sounded quite interesting. There was really a lot that I liked about the story too, especially Rhett and Jasmine's friendship. I thought was really beautiful. I love books about the female friendship. That's primarily what my own books are about as well. And to see such two close friends, obviously they go through a lot, because now we have Jasmine pretending to be what Rhett has built her whole career on, and obviously then there's some feelings of animosity on both of their ends. Jasmine is also going through a very interesting life situation herself, which I liked that it was explored. It wasn't the main topic of the book, but we really got a lot of insight to Jasmine, to her relationships, to her own inner struggles. And I thought that was really interesting to read about. We do also have a bit of romance in here, but the romance isn't necessarily the main theme to the book, which I did also personally enjoy. It really is about Rhett's situation. It's about her losing her grandmother, inheriting this farm, her problems with her mother, then dealing with this social media and kind of identity crisis. But we do also have a little bit of romance building in the background, which I thought was interesting. The biggest thing that I feel like kind of stuck out to me was Rhett being 40 and some of the decisions that she made. I kind of kept, in my mind, I kept placing her at being younger. And I don't want to say that with shame. Like, I'm 35 and I don't make good decisions all the time, okay? But it was an interesting thought that I had as I was reading the book, because then it would get mentioned, like her age would get mentioned again, or her birthday, or her mother being so much older and frailer. And I was like, oh yeah, she's not, like, I kept placing her in even like her late 20s or her early 30s because of some of the ways that she reacted to situations. And that was just one thing that I wanted to point out with the book, and one thing that I pointed out in my review. So for my review, I said there's a lot of discussions around living your authentic life, what that truly looks like, mending broken relationships, and the joy of self-discovery. And I gave this one a 4-star review. So I really did enjoy this one. Again, it's another reason why I want to be able to talk about all of the books, because I do try to be pretty particular with the books I give a 5-star review to. Even back when I first started my blog, I wanted it to be like a big deal when I gave a book a 5-star review. So I have to really like feel something deep within me to just be giving out the 5 stars. But I thought this one was really good. And the cover didn't necessarily draw me in right away. And I know you're not supposed to judge a book on its cover, but sometimes I do like to feel a little something when I look in the cover, and this one didn't necessarily do it to me, but I still thought it was a good one. Definitely still one that I'd recommend. And the last book that I have, this is Out of the Clear Blue Sky, and this is by Kristan Higgins. She is a best-selling author. I have read a lot of her novels, and I tend to enjoy most of them that I read, and this one was No surprise. So from the synopsis, Lily Silva knew life as an empty nester would be hard after her only child left for college, but when her husband abruptly dumps her for another woman just as her son leaves, her world comes crashing down. I love this that it says Lily has lived her life on Cape Cod as a mother, a wife, and a nurse midwife, and she's used to caring for other people, but now she's alone for the first time in her life, and she finds herself going a little rogue. Is it over the top to crash her ex-husband's wedding dressed like the angel of death? Sure. Should she release a skunk into his perfect new home? Probably not, but it beats staying home and moping. I love this book for so many reasons. The writing was fantastic. Again, I felt like I was there. I've never been to Cape Cod, and I felt like I could smell it. I felt like I could envision everything. I absolutely love Kristan Higgins' writing because it puts me right there with the characters. I was furious on Lily's behalf, of course, but I loved that the story starts out with her going to put a skunk in the house that her ex-husband now lives in with his new wife, and I just thought that was so funny. Like, these little bits of humor that we got along the way, I felt like added so much to the book because Lily is very calm. Like it said, mother, wife, the midwife, like she's delivered the whole town's babies pretty much. She's very calm and caring. We have a lot of scenes actually of her career and what it really means to deliver a baby and how it works with a midwife and natural births, and that part I thought that really added a lot to the story. But then to have her doing the things like dress up as the angel of death behind where her husband's getting married, so she's in all of the wedding photos. I mean, I was rolling with laughter at times in this book, and I felt like this was such an interesting story because you have these funny moments, you obviously have sad moments. Again, I'm someone who's gone through divorce. It is really, really challenging. I have not had to deal with my ex-husband getting remarried or getting remarried so quickly, living in my town, hiring my own sister who's a wedding planner to plan their wedding. Like, all of these things are happening to Lily, and I'm thinking, how overwhelming does this have to be? That part I can't even imagine. So there's obviously these very sad moments, but we have a backstory with Lily and her time in high school and an accident. It gets brought up pretty quickly that something has happened to Lily in the past, and it actually affected her fertility. So she kept saying with her son Dylan how he was such this miracle baby, and at first I thought, is this a part of a series and did I miss something from the book prior? But over time, throughout the books, we do get the scene and we do get what happened to Lily and what caused this accident and what caused some of her infertility problems. And it's actually a very deep subject. And I just thought Kristan Higgins balanced everything so well in this book, between the heartbreak, between manipulation. I am very fascinated that we got the point of view from the other woman and we see her side of things, and her story is very fascinating as well. And also to balance very serious subjects such as sexual abuse, a really horrific accident, and how that really changed Lily and kind of set the rest of her life in motion. Obviously, even just being an empty nester, losing your son, there was a lot of talks on motherhood and what it really felt to be a mother and to pour so much into your child. And there was a really interesting conversation in here, and I was actually at a dinner with one of my friends whose name is Risa, and she has a beauty YouTube channel as well, and she lives in Vegas, and every once in a while we meet up to go to dinner. And she had just taken her second son, her youngest son, to college, and she was so sad about it. So we had this dinner and, you know, got to hang out. But I was saying, wow, well, I just finished reading this book and it really helps give me insight on how you must be feeling right now. And I talked to her about it, and I said, you know, the author was talking about how you work so hard and you put all of this effort into creating the best human that you can and someone who's going to make good decisions, and then your reward for that is them leaving you, you know, them going off to college and them building their lives and finding someone that they want to spend their life with. You give, you know, all of yourself to them, and then it's just, then they're gone. And she explained it so well, to the point where I was tearing up. Even though I don't have children myself, I was like, wow, that was a really good way to describe motherhood and how it must feel when your child is grown and going off into the real world by themselves. So I was so impressed with this book. I loved the ending as well. I love just like the funny moments sprinkled throughout here, because there are so many deep subjects. You needed that humor to not just be like ugly crying throughout the whole book. Like I said, I gave it a 5-star review. Again, one of my favorites that I've read throughout this year. And I just keep thinking about the characters. I just keep thinking about the stories. And I also keep telling people like, oh, I read this book book and get this scene. Like, this was so funny. And I just absolutely love that. And I enjoyed all of these books that I read in August. 2 were really standouts to me. I really hope that you read them. But again, I'm going to link them all down below if there's any that catch your interest. I also have the link to my blog. Like I said, I post book reviews over there frequently. I'm hoping to make this a monthly series on my channel if you do enjoy it. And if you have any other book videos you would like to see from me, again, please do let me know because I would love to share those. Or if you have any book recommendations for me or just any books you would like to leave in the comments in general. I know a lot of people look at comments, so if there's something you have been loving, please do leave that, and hopefully we can help each other find some really good books to read. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I hope you also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.